Klay Thompson is about to become a member of the Dallas Mavericks. According to Thompson, is set to agree to a 3-year, $50 million deal with the defending Western Conference champs.
You are my brother. Let me apologize to you if I hurt you, that we haven't been together. And God is good.
I can't believe it. Klay Thompson officially made his decision, and it's not with the Golden State Warriors. And when you look at the details of this contract, it's even more surprising. The Warriors have officially agreed to a sign-and trade, and the details of this deal is just absolutely insane. So before we get to the content, this is our third video in a 24-hour span. We are on the grind for 1 million subscribers. So if you've been enjoying the coverage we've been bringing you guys so far, make sure you check you're subscribed. And now that we get all that out of the way, cue the intro. Mic check 1 2 1 2. What's going on, everybody? From the very beginning of this Klay Thompson saga, the one thing that Klay Thompson wanted the most was a max contract from the Warriors to indicate that they were dedicated to building around him. And I think that's what the problem between Klay Thompson and the Golden State Warriors was. You see, Klay Thompson was coming from the perspective that he did so much for the Golden State Warriors franchise, and therefore he felt like he deserved to get paid as such. And it's not that wild of an ask. I mean, you've seen it in years past. For example, the Lakers signed Kobe Bryant to a 2-year, $48 million contract, which doesn't sound like a lot today, but you have to understand this was about a decade ago, despite him tearing his Achilles tendon as a thank you to Kobe Bryant for all the achievements that he's done for the Lakers. The trade-off was that the Lakers weren't necessarily the most competitive during Kobe Bryant's final years with the team. So it's been done before, but it doesn't necessarily translate to championships, and the Golden State Warriors were in a similar situation last year. Draymond Green was threatening to leave to a different team like the Sacramento Kings or the Los Angeles Lakers if he didn't get paid the amount that he felt like he was deserved. Ultimately, that amount didn't come out to be the max. The Warriors signed Draymond Green to a 4-year, $100 million contract, which I thought was fair at that point. The difference between Draymond and Klay is Klay felt like he deserved maximum money despite having one of his worst years to date. This year he averaged 18 points per game off of 39% shooting from 3, which is amazing, by the way, but it's a far contrast from when he was shooting 44% from 3 for the Golden State Warriors, and his defense took a bit of a hit because 1, he's going into his age 34 season this year, and 2, this is a man that suffered 2 of the worst injuries you could ever have as a NBA player, a torn Achilles and a torn ACL. At the end of the day, Klay Thompson felt disrespected. I personally don't understand why, considering how he got paid max money for the first 2 years of his last contract extension, which was given to him after he tore his ACL. The Golden State Warriors could have selected LaMelo Ball with the 2nd overall pick in the 2020 NBA draft, but they selected James Wiseman instead. I feel like there was plenty of opportunities for the Warriors to show Klay that they held him in very high regard and high esteem, and ultimately Klay didn't accept that. It's just crazy because if you go all the way back to last year, you'd remember that Klay Thompson said he wanted a max deal.
Especially with Klay Thompson, who I'm told has an expectation that he would be rewarded with a new max level contract extension this offseason. He's got a year left on his deal at $43 million. Next year, he's come back this year. It certainly helped the team to a championship last year. Had a historic offensive season this season, just the 3rd player ever to have 300 3-pointers in a season. But this is an inflection point now for the Golden State organization with Klay Thompson, Steph Curry, and then Draymond Green, who could opt into his deal at $27 million. Warriors could be facing a payroll and luxury tax over $500 million.
So check this out. Earlier today, Brian Windhorst said that the Los Angeles Lakers could very well make a run at Klay Thompson.
Well, he would be a perfect fit for the Lakers, and the Lakers are trying to get it done, and they may get it done. But, the thing about what the Lakers are is with what they've got on their roster and what they've got, to maneuver under the apron with eventually also re-signing LeBron James, they're a step away. They've got to make an intermediate trade. If they make that intermediate trade early today, I think the chances of them getting Klay increase. But I also think Klay is compelled by that match that you guys are talking about in Dallas. I think fitting alongside Luka and Kyrie would potentially be very comfortable for him. And, you know, they've obviously proven that they're a serious contender. They are a better team than the Lakers, even by adding him. And so he's closer to a championship by joining the Mavericks in all likelihood than he is with the Lakers, pending any other moves the Lakers might be able to pull off.
And this would be really significant. I mean, LeBron James was willing to take a significant pay cut so the Lakers could have their full MLE to pursue Klay Thompson. But here's the craziest part. Klay Thompson wouldn't follow in his father's footsteps to play for the Los Angeles Lakers. As a matter of fact, he would join the Dallas Mavericks. Yes, because according to Adrian Wojnarowski, breaking, free agent Klay Thompson plans to join the Dallas Mavericks on a 3-year, $50 million deal with a player option, sources tell ESPN. Thompson ends his historic Warriors run as part of a multi-team sign and trade that'll also send Josh Green to the Charlotte Hornets. Now, here's the craziest part about all this. Woj also said that Thompson had 4-year offers for more money, but taking less was offset by the chance to win a 5th championship with the Mavericks and difference in state taxes. And it also says in this tweet that the Los Angeles Lakers were another huge contender for Thompson's services.
I was told the Lakers made a pretty compelling offer. It was around a 3-4 year mark, somewhere along the lines of $20 million per. They didn't get their guy, and it was going to take obviously a sign and trade scenario. So that had nothing to do with LeBron James's decision to take less. It was going to take a sign and trade to get Klay. It just did not happen.
Look, I think I'm going to make a completely separate video on the Lakers' perspective in all of this, but so far as a Laker fan, it's not looking good for us in free agency. We whiffed on Chris Paul, we whiffed on Klay Thompson, we whiffed on DeJounte Murray, which I don't understand how we whiffed on DeJounte Murray, because the Pelicans didn't give up much at all for DeJounte Murray. I guess in that case, it was the Los Angeles Lakers tax. And we also whiffed on James Harden, but the Lakers wouldn't be able to compete with the Los Angeles Clippers' overpay of James Harden. The Clippers gave James Harden a 2-year, $70 million contract for a guy that averaged 16 points and 8 assists this past year. So the Lakers can't compete with that ineptitude. And now the worst part of all is, according to Woj, LeBron is going to seek the full max as a result of this.
And so for the Lakers, I think ultimately LeBron James probably takes that full max because the kind of impact player they hope they could get is not available to them.
Now, screw my Los Angeles Lakers, because if you're watching this, there's a good chance you're either a Mavericks fan or a Warriors fan. But let's discuss the Warriors' contingency plan in all of this. They have a bunch of cap space freed up as a result of moving on from Chris Paul and moving on from Klay Thompson. They tried to trade for Paul George, but the Los Angeles Clippers quite literally chose to screw over their own franchise and to even slightly help the Golden State Warriors, which is still baffling to me. So what's the Golden State Warriors' new plan? Well, keep an eye out on this trade target that Woj says here.
Trying to be aggressive in other places in Golden State. One player that a number of teams have tried to target, Lauri Markkanen of the Utah Jazz. Utah's not sure it wants to trade him, but they have to listen. They've been listening. And a lot of the teams who lost out on Mikal Bridges from Brooklyn have transferred over to trying to see if they can land Lauri Markkanen out of Utah. Golden State is one of those teams.
I love the idea of Lauri Markkanen on the Golden State Warriors. I mean, the guy shot 40% from 3 this past year. He's 7 foot. He could play either the 5 or the 4 position. And technically, he hasn't even entered his prime years yet. He boasts one of the highest offensive box plus minuses in the NBA with a 5.1 and is a legitimate star. But in order to get Lauri Markkanen, Golden State Warriors would probably have to give up a lot of capital. And I can imagine the Utah Jazz entertaining it, because this capital could set up the Utah Jazz for the next decade. The Golden State Warriors could offer Moses Moody, Jonathan Kuminga, and multiple future first-round picks in order to get Lauri Markkanen in return, and I think that's a remarkable plan B if everything goes awry. But let's talk about what this means for the Dallas Mavericks. I personally love this deal for the Mavericks because you're not paying too much money to get Klay Thompson. You're paying him around $16.5 million a year, which is the perfect amount for a player of Klay Thompson's caliber. You saw this in the NBA Finals this past year. The Mavericks desperately needed scoring aside from Kyrie Irving and someone else to depend upon aside from Luka Doncic. There was a game that they depended on Tim Hardaway Jr., but he wasn't effective at all. Scored 0 points in the 20 minutes that he played. So the Mavericks are hoping that Klay Thompson could step in with his experience as a 4-time champion and also provide some much needed scoring on the perimeter. The problem is when you take a look at Luka Doncic, Kyrie Irving, and Klay Thompson, that's not necessarily the greatest perimeter defense in the NBA. So That would probably be my main concern. Defensively, at least on the perimeter, I expect Luka, Kyrie, and Klay to get cooked, unless if they make a huge change somehow in some way. Regardless, this addresses a huge position of need for the Dallas Mavericks. It gives Luka and Kyrie a future Hall of Famer that they could depend on, and it gives Klay Thompson an opportunity to further his Hall of Fame resume. Imagine how good it would feel for Klay Thompson to win a championship without the Golden State Warriors. At the end of the day, if you're the Warriors and Klay was asking for something like $25 million a year, you obviously couldn't give him that. The Klay Thompson, Steph Curry era Golden State Warriors reached the height of its powers, and this past year they weren't even able to win a play-in game. It's truly the end of an era for the Golden State Warriors, but it was one of the greatest eras for the Golden State Warriors of all time, and for that, Klay Thompson will one day see his jersey in the rafters. Klay gets an opportunity to further his legacy, the Dallas Mavericks get some much needed shooting, and it wasn't an overpay at all whatsoever. Let me know in the comment section down below if you're a Warriors fan how you feel about this. Aside from that, I don't know if you heard, but Paul George signed with the Philadelphia 76ers. We uploaded it at 4:30 a.m. Eastern last night. So if you guys missed our video on it, I have analysis and a huge deep dive on the history of the deal. I'll meet you guys over there. I'm your boy Mike, and I'm dropping our mic until our next upload.